Heads to the first of two China events, the Pearl River Delta, one of China's shopping and food havens. The boys did what they had to do, unloaded the container as usual, and began to move equipment to the assigned pit. As usual, the topic of conversation during the walk is how to minimize lap time.
And then the brake is overheated. I was in the gravel about 10 minutes and then waiting for the...
Turn 3, there's a hump which caught me by surprise, and I threw my car sideways, and by the time I recover, I end up in the gravel, but I managed to bring the car out again.
The car was prepped and warmed up for the qualifying session. It was the day of the qualifying. Both Zen and Afiq look calm as they wait for the session to start and for the crew to finish the final setups on the car. As fresh slicks were put on, Afiq got himself ready for the first qualifying session. It was another hot day, but drivers were eager to head out. Let's hear from Afiq on his session.
Yeah, my first qualifying was really good. I'm so happy. We secured the pole position. I think this is our first time for this season. Yeah, I'm very happy with the car. At last we managed to get the setup correctly. Yeah, the condition is very hot. I managed only one flying lap, and then after that the car is overheating. And then we are in the dim mode. The dim mode means safe mode. So I just cruise and then just went into the pit, and then that's it. We are on pole. So the team decided don't need to go out anymore.
As the temperature kept rising, the team decided that the fastest lap set by Afiq was enough to hold off the competitors. His time was not beaten, giving the team pole position for race 1 on Saturday. The car only had slightly more than 10 minutes to cool down before Zen took it out for qualifying 2, and concern grew as heat continued to rise throughout the session.
Just finished my Q2. Very hot weather today. I think it's slightly hotter than yesterday. But when Afiq handed over the car to me, the rear fan pump was broken, so I was struggling with brakes, and my brakes was not working properly. It just simply overheated. It's just so hot out there. I was lucky to get away with a few corners, especially down turn 1. I hit the brakes with all the strength I had, but the car just wouldn't stop. I almost went into gravel. And then I realized that the motor A was not working, so basically there's no other way to cool down the brakes, and I just have to be very careful with the brakes. So other than that, the car ran very well. It was smooth, except the braking bit where I had to brake a lot earlier. That was the only problem that I had during my Q2. Otherwise, I'm quite happy with the car. So qualified P6, so let's hope for a good result tomorrow. So let's hope the weather stay a little bit cooler and not too stressful for the engines and the brakes. And I think a few of the other cars are having similar problem as well, the brake issue, and also the engines that gone overheating as well. So keep our finger crossed. Hopefully our car run smoothly and come back with a good result.
After placing the car in 6th for the race on Sunday, the car was parked at the scrutineering bay for the post-qualifying scrutineering. Various checks and measurements were made to make sure that the car complies with regulations before the car is released back to the team. As Team FX Primus Aylezo waited for the return of their car from the post-qualifying scrutineering, the grid began to fill up with the Asian Formula Renault cars, ready for their first race of the weekend. 16 cars lined up on the grid as the weather cooled, where Alice Powell won the race she started from pole position for Team FRD. Meanwhile, the day was not yet over for Team FX Primus Aylezo, as the crew began preps on the car soon after collecting it from the scrutineering bay. Looking at the weather, the team expects the temperature to continue to rise. Therefore, a decision was reached to change to a new radiator, and with it, the grille on the front bumper also replaced to provide better and cleaner airflow into the radiator. As the crew worked on the car, the drivers were in deep discussion with Mai and Chia on race strategy for the weekend and their growing concern with the extreme heat being faced over the weekend. It was late Saturday morning and the grandstand was filled with thousands of race enthusiasts eager for the race to start. Supporters from FX Primus were there in droves to support the team. They were given the VIP treatment at the Team FX Primus Aylezo hospitality suite and had a chance to mingle with the drivers. Back in the pit, team engineer Chia gave a quick refresher to the drivers and the pit crew on the pit stop requirements at the Zhuhai circuit. Out on the grid, the Pan Delta Super Racing Festival's crowd were treated to a fantastic show by international drift and stunt drivers. A drift demonstration and a mini drift race were held, with the drivers showing off some impressive car control and getting the crowd's spirits up. Slowly, the team started to get ready as the race queens come out. FX Primus guests were given a tour of the Lamborghini Super Trofeo Asia Series pit, mainly to see the team car and pose for some pictures with the drivers before the start of the first race. Despite all the activity surrounding him, Afiq maintained his focus and concentrated on getting ready for race 1. It was great to see car number 69 on the front row of the grid. And with so many of FX Primus's customers and fans present, it made the pole position an even better one. The 50-minute race was to start at 12:40 in the afternoon, as the sun was at its hottest. Afiq, as usual, was calm as the buzzer to signal the 5-minute countdown sounded. Then they were off. Here is Afiq speaking of his race.
I had a really good start, and then Akihiko Nakaya overtook me at turn 3 on the inside line. I don't want to take risks, so I just let him pass. Just be cool and just relax, just maintain on P2.
Afiq maintained a steady pace behind Akihiko Nakaya in car number 11. Then 3 laps into the race, Nakaya had a puncture, spun and crashed into the safety barrier, causing the safety car to be called out. Afiq once again led the race.
After the safety car came in, I just said to myself, I need to push, I need to pull a gap for Zen to take over. And then that time I did my fastest time.
Afiq was told to keep on pushing until the last possible moment before coming in to pass driving duties to Zen. Once again, the brakes were already heating and the team tried their best to keep the car cool during the changeover. A perfectly timed pit stop and Zen was released. Just as Zen picked up speed and was about to head into his first turn, disaster.